Welcome to Heart Riffing, a podcast by way of the heart. Here we explore what it means to reconnect with your essence and live from a place of personal freedom. If you're interested in learning more about our courses, mentoring and workshops, feel free to visit wayoftheheart.com.au. We're so glad you're here and we hope you enjoy the episode. The following episode contains artful use of coarse language.
Hi guys, welcome to another potty from Way of the Heart, another Heart Riffing podcast by Way of the Heart. Here with partner in crime as usual, Jess.
Hello, good morning.
Yeah. We're going to tackle something today which is really close to my heart, or maybe not so much close to my heart, but it's definitely been a part of my experience in terms of my spiritual and inner formation. And that's the whole idea of a deconstruct.
And the deconstruct is something that we break down in, I think, Landscape of the Heart, one of our courses.
Yes, we do.
We do. And I think that this is an interesting one to talk to because it's something that comes up quite frequently in mentoring sessions as well. So it's probably an interesting one to bring to the pod.
Yeah. So, and to contextualize it, a deconstruct basically is that you're in a system, you're in some kind of, you're in a context, call it a context, not a system. You're in this context and and maybe it's starting to feel uncomfortable. It's starting to feel like, I don't want to be here. There's something off about this. You get that inner dissonance. Things aren't working. You feel a sense of disquiet about it. And probably more than anything, one of the things that you start to feel is you start to feel like, I don't know how long I can keep on doing this. So if we use the human language piece, the human language piece would be, I'm just feeling so tired. I feel burnt out. This makes, I just feel so frustrated by this. I don't want to go to work. I don't want to, I resent having to go and do this. I don't want to do this. So there's this, so what you'll be noticing in a deconstructing yourself is that there'll be all this stuff that you're trying to manage on the inside, and it'll be spilling out. Be spilling out as frustration, as tiredness, as weariness. It'll be spilling out as sometimes a sense of injustice. I just don't think that's right. Like, why are we doing that? A sense of things aren't fair. These are, or a sense of like, am I wrong? Am I wrong to feel this way? Like second guessing yourself, feeling destabilized, all these sorts of things. They're really, really human emotions. But sometimes what the deconstruct is there's something inside of you that is telling you that the external construct, that's why we call it a deconstruction, the internal construct that you're in is too small, or is changing, or is no longer where you need to be, or is something that you might need to move on from, or transcend, or go beyond, or move out of, or whatever it is. Could be a family, could be a job, could be a relationship, could be anything, really. Do you know what I mean? Could be a belief system. In fact, normally it's a belief system. It could be a whole culture. It could be it will almost certainly be a worldview. It could be the way you see the world, and just because it's not lining up anymore. And there's this sense of, I need to move on from this. The challenge from moving on from a construct, in other words, the challenge of a deconstruct, is that inevitably the deconstruct will be the construct will be in your life, and it will have some legitimacy, right? It will be there for a reason. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to sort of kick this off. Could you, very briefly describe the stages in a deconstruct and then talk about your own experience of that?
Yeah, so the stages for me in a deconstruct, as I've watched myself go through this a number of different times, the stages for me in a deconstruct was getting to a point of despair, living in despair almost through to, not almost through, but directly through to a sense of disdain, which is resentment, anger, frustration, almost having no regard. In fact, not only not having regard, having genuine sense of resentment and frustration, and then moving through to a place of complete disinterest.
Mm-hmm.
So I say, metaphorically, a deconstruct often feels like the puppy dog that initially wags its tail, wants to be pat, wants to be tickled, wants to go for a run in the park with you. That's living in the deconstruct and just wanting the affirmation and the belonging and the security and the certainty and the camaraderie of being part of something. And then moving to the dog that's now growling at the, it's like, I'm not a happy puppy, I'm growling at it, to eventually moving to disinterest where the puppy dog, the thing comes into the room and the dog, the dog can't even be bothered looking up.
Like a cat.
Like, or like a basset hound, as you pointed out the other night. I think moving from Labrador to Rottweiler to, basset hound. Like, are you here? You again?
Sleep.
Fall asleep again,
Yes.
So it might be getting a little bit too metaphoric there, but I think for a lot of people, this hits the ground where, they're raised with a certain kind of a cultural, social trajectory, and then they get into their mid-20s and they start to wrestle. They might have the teenage rebellion against that, but they fold back in and they do whatever they do, and then they get into their late 20s, early 30s, mid-30s, and especially mid to late 30s, and they go, this just isn't working for me.
Mm-hmm.
But by then, whatever the this isn't working for me is, the this isn't working for me has genuinely shaped big slabs of their life.
Yeah.
Might have shaped the education they got post high school, might have shaped the early career that they took, might have shaped, the early development of that career where they graduated or they left or they got trained or they finished their apprenticeship and now they're in it. And, and it's not just career, it's the whole life trajectory, right? And then they get to that point and they just go, what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's a very human kind of experience, right?
Totally.
And the problem is at that point when the what's going on happens is that it feels like you're challenging something that has genuine weight.
Mm-hmm.
You're challenging something that you've invested in.
Because you've been operating from that space for so long.
Yeah. So by the time I was in my mid-30s, I was looking at my faith, the earliest version of my faith, the faith that I'd studied and researched and, got a degree in and started running organizations in and had started teaching. I looked at my faith and I just went, this isn't lining up for me. And
then you go into despair, and I think that's the one that we kind of like brushed over a little bit, right? So you go, it's not lining up, but you don't go straight from it's not lining up to Rottweiler.
No, and you don't even go right into deep despair. You go into, am I correct in what I'm seeing here? So when I first started challenging my faith, which was relatively conservative evangelical Christianity, when I first started challenging that, I was sitting at a luncheon with a friend who was a missionary, Christian missionary, and I said to her, do you believe in hell? And she said, absolutely. And I said, really? She goes, yeah. And the problem is that most people don't believe in hell, and they really should, because there'll be accountability for how you live in this life.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard that statement and I just went, I know that my tribe expects me to believe that, but I actually don't believe that. I don't believe that in my heart. And as I drove home with Ange, I said, there's no evidence that I actually believe in hell. Like when you kids invite your little friends over, I'm not running up to your little friend going, well, listen, whoever, have you accepted Jesus as your Lord and Savior? Because if you haven't, you're going to go to hell, Yeah. Like I never wanted to be that dad that terrified your friends when they came over, And so it's like, I existentially don't believe that. I know that our tribe believes that. I actually don't believe that. And so I thought, so is that a problem with me?
Mm.
So then what I did is I researched all the stuff around that. And the more I researched, the more I just went, I think this comes from the Middle Ages Catholic Church. I think this was a great way for the Catholics to sell indulgences and to manipulate people and to get money flooding into the church, because in the Middle Ages, in the Dark Ages, when people died, the Catholic Church could say, we'll build a chantry chapel on your estate and you can pray for your dead relative to get out of purgatory so they don't go to hell. And then the church raises money, and I just go like, I'm not sure that any of that's actually in the original program, you know. Now, I know some of you are going like, how could you ever believe that nonsense? But if you're raised in a system and the system says, or the construct tells you, this is a really fundamental part of the construct, you've got to download this, otherwise you don't belong. In your uncritical early days, you download the thing from the construct, you know, and it works not just for, say, conservative Christians. It works for the liberal kid who's been brought up in a hippie family, and mum and dad never believed in marriage, and mum and dad believed in free love. And by the time the kid's 25, they've had 15 partners and they don't know themselves, and they turn around to the hippy dippy parents and go, I reckon a few boundaries would have been good.
Yeah.
You know, like that probably wasn't the best thing for me. You know, or like, you know, or the kids, you know, borderline manic depressive in their early 30s, and they turn around and they go, you know, like smoking weed from the time I was 16 was cool at 16. It's kind of shit at 35. You know what I mean? So, you know, there's like I'm trying to make the point that there's fundamentalism and there's constructs that have implications, whether you want to go to the conservative Christian one, which is where I go because that's my history, or whether you want to go to the uber liberal one.
Yep.
You know,
same other way.
Why didn't you give me boundaries? Because like I was out with my friends every weekend and you guys never knew where I was or what I was getting up to. Would have really appreciated a bit. So that liberal kind of deconstructed thing is just as dangerous a construct as the conservative one. And so you don't, when you're hitting up against that, the starting point of that isn't to go, the starting point is not to go, it's wrong, it's illegitimate. You look at yourself and go, what's wrong with me?
Yeah. And then what's the pipeline from that to despair?
Well, because you keep looking at yourself and you know, so I look at myself and the fact that I don't believe these fundamental things that I should be, and I'm leading organizations where I'm meant to be the captain of the ship that really believes this stuff. And I go, oh, what's the matter with me? Like, why can't I get on board with this? Because the system, the construct has legitimacy. Yeah. It comes with weight. You know, well, we were just loving parents and we didn't want to tie you down and we didn't want to, you know, obstruct your freedom and we didn't want to stop you doing what you wanted to do. You're like, I was 12, for goodness sake. You know, like having us, you know, doing that at 12 was not helpful for me. You know, it's like, but you don't get to that point of pushing back on, like in the early days, you don't push back on the system. What you do is the feeling that something's not right is you internalize and you go, there's something wrong with me. Yeah. And where despair happens is you sit with this sense that there's something wrong with me. I must be broken, you know? I mean, my parents are good people, like, you know, all my friends are Christian. Surely I'm the only one out that doesn't believe this, you know? Like, why can't I just go along to get along? Why can't I just go along with it and and then everything will be all right, you know? And so you internalize, you double down on trying to find the thing in you that doesn't fit. So the delegitimization of the construct, the delegitimization of whatever it is, doesn't come first. What comes first is a whole lot of self-examination, a whole lot of internal, I'm not right, I don't fit, I can't get this stuff right, you know, I haven't found my path, I always feel lost, I tried this and it didn't work, I tried that and it's not working, what's the matter with me? That's where you start. Right? And so where the despair ends up coming in the deconstruct is that you can only do that so long before you go, no. No, I'm done.
No, but that's moving into the disdain, right?
Well, it moves into yes, it is. Yes, it is. You're exactly right. So you keep doing it's kind of is, because once you go, no, I think the construct is wrong, right? If you're really genuine, you go, okay, well, what have I got to do to fix it?
Mm-hmm.
That's where genuine despair comes.
Okay. Because no matter what you do.
Yeah, because then my desire to fix, so then what I did is I studied and I researched and I learned and I did honors subjects in my chosen space, and then and then I'd go and then I was teaching a course to students, and I started the 3-day seminar saying, who believes in this? And everyone put their hand up, which was the who believes in hell, believe. Everyone puts their hand up, and then I teach 3 days of material straight from the scriptures, completely, like a complete survey of everything that's been said about it. And at the end of 3 days, I go, so who still believes in this? Hoping that no one will put up their hand.
They all put their hand up.
Every single person put their hand up.
Yeah.
And I went directly from there to Clifftop Lookout and said, if I have to stay in this, I'd rather jump off this cliff.
Right. Genuine despair.
It's like, I can't do this shit.
Yeah.
I can't study, think, communicate with all my heart, try and bring people on this journey, try and get people to see things differently, try and get people to negotiate the box that we've all been raised in, try and get us to think outside the box, beyond the box, with a bigger mythological perspective, with an understanding of comparative religions, with a generosity to other cultures, all this sort of stuff that I'm trying to introduce into the box. And the box is basically going out, it's throwing everything out. And everything I try and put in, the box is throwing out. And the more it throws out what I try to bring to it, the more I'm becoming the outlier. Mm-hmm. The more I'm becoming a problem for the construct.
Yeah.
So invitations to speak dry up. Mm-hmm. Invitations to lecture dry up. Invitations to be part of committees dry up. Access to influence dries up, and you become an outlier. And then you go, the more I try, the more I'm being pushed to the edge here.
Yeah, right.
Right. It feels like rejection. It feels like failure. It feels like all these sorts of things. And then at some point you just go, get stuffed. I'm done. I'm out. I know that I frame that in the context of a belief system.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm seeing the parallels in relationships as well.
Completely.
Right? You're in a relationship. It's looking dysfunctional, so you double down and you try really, really hard. Yes. You do everything that you can to make it work. You try and change. You try and compromise. Then you go into that despair of like, what more can I do? What more do you want? How am I, still inadequate? What more can I do? And you go into the pain and suffering of that. And then you get to a point where you flip to the other side where you go, I can't stand you. Like this is, and you go into the disdain, right? And you have the contempt and all that.
Yeah. So, but I think that the really important point is that despair is the absence of hope. Mm-hmm. Genuine despair is not an empowered state. Mm-hmm. Genuine despair is complete hopelessness.
Right.
So when you meet someone in genuine despair, they're not an empowered person.
Right.
They're not going, there's no element of disdain in them. They're at the, I'm beaten, I'm done, I failed, I can't make it work. Nothing that I do, that's despair. People get to despair when there is nothing that they can do to resurrect it, fix it, align with it, and they've been trying for so long. Yeah. And it's like, I can't make this work.
Yeah.
That's despair.
Yeah. So it's almost like
it's the dark night of the soul.
Yeah, it's almost like there's first a double down, then there's a despair, then there's then the rest, right?
Yeah. The first part is The first part of entering into the deconstruct is the system still has legitimacy, or the construct or the relationship or the profession or the family culture or whatever it is still has lots of legitimacy and lots of weight. And you go, why aren't I fitting in? And that's a personal reflection. And you try and 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 try. And the more you try, it doesn't work. And then you try and shift it and you try and approach it from a different angle, and it doesn't work and it doesn't work. And at a particular point, you just go, I am done. And you see it, you're exactly right. You see it a lot in relationships where a person just goes, I'm done. It's like, so then maybe the other party says, how about we go to counseling? And the person goes, no, I'm done. And they're not happily done. They're not empowered in being done. I never left my faith going, wow, I'm so woke and awake now. And I've moved from the closed, cultural side to the really open, empowered, logical, rational cat. I've jumped from religious mythology into scientific, logical, it's like, no, I just went, oh, okay, well, there goes 30 years of my life.
Right, and this is where disdain comes in, yes?
And then after a while, you just go, you know what? Yes, it is, because this is when disdain starts, because as you weigh up what it's cost you to be in that structure, you go, that wasn't fair. That wasn't right. That's not appropriate.
Yeah.
I did all of this and I didn't, the disdain part starts to come back where you're now, despite all your efforts to kind of appeal to the reasonableness of the construct hasn't shifted. And then you get to a point and you go, that's not fair.
Yeah.
I think this is what a lot of working class people feel like when they just go, it's not fair that the boss is on X million dollars and like we can't even get a 3% pay rise.
Yeah.
That's not right.
Yeah.
That's where you start to get social revolution,
Yeah.
And you do, look, at a macro level, the disdain part, which is pointing out the unfairness of the construct, is something that social dissidents, like social revolutionaries, have harnessed that power.
Yeah.
Right? And have used that against those structures.
Mm-hmm.
So we saw it in, like, not to get too geopolitical, but we saw that in the civil rights movement. When the system let Alsatians loose on African Americans who are just peacefully protesting, nonviolent protest, Martin Luther's nonviolent protest. And then when the police released dogs on them to attack them and then hit them with batons, all of the whole world's watching that on TV just going, oh, that's not right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You saw the same thing in India with, Gandhi kicking out British colonialism. We've seen it again and again and again. You saw it, you see it repeated, but what they're really playing into is that in the disdain period, in this period of time where you go, this is bullshit, there's this pushback, and the pushback highlights all the injustice in the system, all the injustice in the construct, all the pain that you felt. You then start to channel it back and go, that wasn't right. You went off and played golf for 3 weekends, and I had the kids for 4 weeks in a row, and I still had to do my job. But you said you were really tired, and you left me holding all the responsibility, and you didn't even. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm just giving some nonsense relational example.
So is like if despair is that place of complete hopelessness and disempowerment, is disdain when you start to get some of that back and you become, it seems like the flip side, right? It's the empowered.
It is. You're exactly right. It's that moment when you just go, oh, look, okay, I can't fix this. I can't do anything. And then you lose the desire to fix it. And that loss of desire to fix it, because you now are reconciled to the fact that you're done, you're out, you're excluded, or whatever it is. You then start to go, well, that's just, there's a part of you that starts to speak again and starts to go, well, that was bullshit.
Yeah.
That's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it starts to feel empowered.
Is that because you're trying to claim back your identity from that thing? But ironically, if you're in disdain, you're now no longer being defined by that thing, you're being defined by your aversion to that thing?
Well, yeah, I think you are defined by your aversion to it. And when I've gone through that period of time, the one word that, I would have uttered more frequently than any other word is fuck.
I remember this.
Some version of get fucked.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
Yeah.
This is fucking bullshit.
I remember you playing and then the South Park
fuckity, fuck. And people would go, what? We need to censor that. You can't say that. I go, fuck off censoring that.
Good luck to me editing.
Yeah, don't try and edit this. Because what that word represents is it represents a defiance. Fuck your system. Fuck you. I don't care what you think. You can get fucked. It's like the word, the beautiful thing about that particular word is that it carries the emotional weight when it's delivered appropriately, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yes, we can be all puritanical and say, I don't like profanity. Okay, yeah, cool. Fuck off. No. No, don't. Please don't. But you can get the feeling, right? The fundamental feeling in all of that is that, and I don't care what you think.
Mm-hmm.
If you're from some puritanical system that gets offended by a word, then get offended by a word.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care about your system.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not playing your games anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not here for that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not playing by your rules anymore. I am now officially outside your system, and I'm looking at your system and I'm telling you that that you don't want me to use profanity, but I look back on, say institutional religion and go, oh, you don't like me saying the word fuck, but you're happy not to ordain women.
Yeah.
You don't get outraged by pedophile within the church. You don't get outraged by, the draining of 10% of someone's gross income to serve you guys, and you go off and buy lavish gifts while the people who are giving 10% of their income struggle financially to make ends meet.
Yeah.
You're a shepherd that feeds yourself off the sheep,
The interesting thing, I think...
analogies.
No, I'm here for it. I think the interesting thing about this disdain is because it is an empowered state, I think that a lot of people never move past this.
Yeah.
I think that when you look at a lot of people online, they're angry and they're completely happy to be embodied in that anger.
Yeah.
Because I think that that's misread as being empowered,
like
genuinely empowered. But I don't think it is. I think it's just still in reactivity.
Yeah, it is. It's completely in reactivity. And the reason that they do that is because the disdain is the, tear down the walls.
Yeah.
It's like I'm walking through the place and I'm leveling this place.
Yeah.
And it takes energy to do that, right? And there is a sense of empowerment, and there is a sense that, okay, now I'm on the other side of this.
Yeah.
Now watch me go. I don't care. I don't need your approval. I'm not looking for it. But this is why I use the analogy of the dog. When you were in the construct, you were the happy Labrador wanting to chase the tennis ball down the beach and just hang around and now you're the Rottweiler.
Yeah.
Right? Now you're the triggered guard dog that is like, I'm ripping stuff up here, you know? And the point in all of that is that, that's not a healthy way to live long term. Like, it's just not a healthy way to live long term.
Yeah.
And you get a lot of pushback when you're in that state as well. Well, people who don't feel the pinch of the deconstruct at all, normally people from still within the construct say, oh, you're very angry. Well, you're reactive,
Yeah.
The one that I used to hate is, you've got a critical spirit. You've got a really negative, critical spirit. I mean, I wouldn't listen to someone like you because you're really negative.
Wow.
You know, and I go, well, yeah, I give them my
Yeah.
fuck off.
Bark. Yeah. Yeah. Bark.
Well, I wouldn't even talk to someone like you.
Yeah.
You know, like, so you do. So it is a really the disdain period of time is a form of empowerment, but it also carries a whole lot of dysfunctional reactivity. You know, you're still triggered. You're still the parallel is that, you know, on one side of the coin you're in and you belong, and on the other side you're out and you don't belong. So it is a heads or tails. It's still binary. The thing about the disdain period is that you're still actually, your life is still being led by the construct, only in a negative way.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, so you're still orbiting.
Yeah.
You're still orbiting the construct.
Yes.
Only you're not in the tent. You're outside the tent.
And you're going, I'm outside the tent. I'm outside that tent.
Yeah, and I'm pissing on the tent here. I'm going around there. I'm going to do it there. You know, there's a lot of bad behavior in the deconstruct.
Setting a fire really close to the tent.
Yeah.
And then I guess, like, is it hard then to move from disdain to disinterest?
No, what happens is you know, if you don't make your identity disdain, and that's the you know, a lot of people who are edgy, you know, their edginess is, you know, their disdain, but it's too costly to stay there. Like, you do become, you see this with comedians who've got this kind of dark, you know, sardonic kind of wit about them, and they deconstruct everything, and you just kind of go, yeah, but I'm just not sure you're a nice guy.
Yeah, right.
You know, like, yes, you have incredible kind of precise social observations, but I wouldn't want to hang out with you.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't, at some point in time, you know, you have to move on to a construct.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a hidden moment in that. I had a guy come to me in the midst of, like, my disdain, when I was genuinely angry about stuff, and genuinely angry at what it had cost me. And he said, how can I help you? And I go, I said at that point, I said, it just doesn't work. All this stuff that we've been led to believe just doesn't work.
Yeah.
And he said, you know, you're not meant to believe it literally. And I kind of looked at him and went, well, you are, because when you're in it, they tell you this is literal. They say this is the inspired, inerrant, infallible word of God. So, like, just by the way, in the construct you do.
Yeah.
And he goes, I know, but in the adult world, you don't. I said, well, what does that mean? And then as we unpack that, and as I unpack that over 12 months, this is when my convictions about, say, religion shifted from believing the religion literally to taking it as a historical mythic narrative around, and as soon as I use the word myth, all the fundamentalists go, what, you're saying it's not true? I'm saying, no.
I mean, I feel like a lot of fundamentalists probably aren't listening to our podcast.
Yeah. Calm down, Loretta. It's hyper-truth. Mythic truth is not unreal truth. It's hyper-truth, right? Now, we can explain that in another podcast, but and because it's hyper-truth, it's actually falling into the category of a wisdom tradition.
Yeah.
Just like Hinduism. Like, no one literally believes that, you know, Ganesh is here because his dad chopped the head off an elephant and put it on him, and now here is Ganesh. Do you know what I mean? If you believe that literally, awesome. You know, probably not on my watch, but you go for it. You know, so but Hinduism has incredible truths about human consciousness.
Yeah.
You know, all the mythology around the Buddha. Yeah, we can do all of that. You know, he's amazing. You know, 1 minute he's really skinny, the next minute he's really fat. It's like, I wish I could get away with that and still be seen as spiritual. You know, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
But to not take it literally and to find the generosity in it, to have a little moment where a key is unlocked and you move from focusing and orbiting around the thing that you're reacting to then going, oh, there's another world I can play in.
Is that the disinterest?
That's when disinterest starts, because the more you start to move out of the orbit of that thing,
yes,
and start orbiting other stuff,
yeah,
normally more awakened or realized or transcendent or different, or aligned. Yeah, beautiful. More aligned. Let's not say anything less than that. The more you start to align with what really resonates again, then you're moving out of the dissonance and the anger and the frustration into a place of resonance, into a place of harmony, into a place of peacefulness. And then someone says to you, hey, what do you think about this? And you go, oh, good point. I actually haven't thought about that.
Yeah.
So you've gone, in that moment, you've gone from being the Rottweiler growling at the system, the construct,
yeah,
and you've shifted out.
Yeah.
And someone says, what do you think about your old partner? And you go, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't think about him.
Yeah.
What do you think about that old job that you were in? Or what do you think about that business that fell apart? Or what do you think about, this situation that you're in? And you go, wow, it's a good question. I haven't thought about that for months.
Yeah.
They don't cross my mind. Mm-hmm. He doesn't cross my mind. I don't get invitations into that space anymore, and I never think about that space. And now I say, and if I did get an invitation, I wouldn't go.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing about my life that fits into that.
Yeah.
Right? I say that about church. Do not invite me to speak at your church, because I will get up there and I will say something that you will not want to hear.
Yeah.
Because I just don't live in that
space anymore.
I don't live in that construct anymore.
Yeah.
I don't believe half the stuff there. So it's like, don't invite me.
Yeah.
It's just not going to be good for you.
Yeah.
And I don't need to be invited.
Yeah.
I don't want to be there. Mm-hmm. So they're the three phases of a deconstruct. Mm. Despair, genuine despair, disdain, where there's a complete delegitimization of the construct, and then disinterest, where, And
I think that this framework is really helpful because, not so much because there's like an action point at the end of it, but I think that it's really helpful to be aware of whatever stage you might happen to be in it, because it gives you a way to frame a relationship or a workplace or a belief system, or even a geopolitical time.
Yeah.
Like, I think it is helpful to be able to look at this and be able to contextualize it and use that as a launching pad to sort of make some room to return to your heart center in that.
I think it's
true.
It
doesn't take away the the sting of despair or the fire of disdain, but I think it does sort of.
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, this is a model this is the three phases that I observed, that I went through.
Yeah.
So I don't know that anyone else talks about this, but these are the three stages of my own personal deconstruct. Here's the thing to remember: if you're still trying to make it work, and you're still beating yourself up, then you're still in despair. So when I talk to someone and they tell me all the reasons why it can't change, and all the reasons why they need to fix it, and all the reasons why it's probably their problem, I've got this problem where and they start getting self-judgmental or self-critical, I just go, oh, okay. You're not in disdain. You're still trying to prop the thing up.
Yeah.
You're still trying to internalize it. You're still making the whole thing about you.
Yeah.
You're in a construct that you can't live and breathe inside of, but you're still thinking, I really need to. Well, okay, good luck. Good luck with that. And people say, well, what do you give people who are still doing that? Like, who are still wedded to some attachment, or are still wedded to some narrative that keeps them in that relationship or in that job or in that situation, or going back to that toxic parent or whatever it is. I just go, well, they just need more despair.
Yeah.
It's horrible, but it's like, well, what do you want me to do? I'm not going to come into your system and argue the case as to why you can't make it work.
Yeah.
If you think that you can make it work, then you're not in despair.
Yeah. And this is interesting too, because I think that we have people who come to us in mentoring and that sort of thing, and it's almost like they're road testing their attachment. Like they want us to convince them of the reasons that they can finally let go. But
Yeah.
if you're in a place where you're still hanging on and you can't let go, we can't cross that bridge
No.
for you. And we say in the course, maybe your cup of
suffering
just isn't
drink
full
up.
yet. Yeah.
Drink up.
Keep drinking.
Drink up. Pour another pint.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it sounds brutal, but it's like if I'm in a session with someone and they're convincing me, they're trying to, they're saying to me, no, you don't get it. I go, no, I don't get it. Okay, chug on.
Yeah.
Like it's not my job to convince you
Yeah.
that you're in a construct that's killing you.
Yeah.
Because it feels like I want you to leave your job or I want you to end your relationship, or it's like, I'm not going to argue for that.
Yeah.
So swing away and try to figure it, but just be aware that despair is, you see it in the Bible, in Isaiah, that there's this in Isaiah for like the first 55 chapters, it's like Yahweh's judgment on a nation that's out of control, and then they get smashed and they get, there's this diaspora, there's this horrible thing that happens. And then I think it's Isaiah 55, it's going back a long way now, but it says, comfort, oh, comfort my people. Like when you're in despair, it's like you need comfort. When you've reached that point of despair, you don't need someone telling you that it's not going to work. You know it's not.
Yeah.
And at that point, you need comfort, and you need loving kindness. And so it's funny because it's a very fine moment between you keep doubling down, you keep doubling down, you keep doubling it down, you keep appealing, and then you completely lose hope. And then almost the moment that you lose hope, you need loving, generous, gentle people around you, not to compound the injury anymore, but to say, okay, there's another way. And part of the other way has to go through an angry period where you delegitimize that shit. And if you don't do that, you find that the person tries to find another way, but they never fully found themselves. They never fully expressed the grief and the frustration and the anger. It's a human grieving process. They never really looked at the thing and just went, but bugger you. You never had the right to do that. It was never appropriate, And so sometimes when I'm with a client and they're talking about, a partner that I will have never met, right? But they're talking about all the heinous stuff. And I'll just say, he sounds like a complete asshole. And they'll go, well, you're not meant to say that. And I go, well, I'm going to say it because you're scared of saying it. You've just told me how he did this, and this, all which are completely heinous. And you're still you're still scared of saying that that's horrible behavior. Like if I met a person that did any of those things, just one of those things, I would have an opinion about that.
Yeah.
But you're scared of having an opinion about that.
Yeah.
It's like they're not empowered. They haven't delegitimized that. They haven't found a way to go, that's not right. And so in that disdain period, they've really got to find that voice, and be angry if they're angry. And be disappointed and be, and measure the weight of what it's cost them to stay in that space. And to feel like that's not okay. Yeah, it's not okay, and sometimes you can help them by being the first one that gives them the license to truly be upset about that, I don't know where that sits in the Australian Institute of Psychology's rule book of appropriate counselling.
That's okay, we're not psychologists.
In Way of the Heart, because we're not psychologists, if you get to that point, we'll help you feel into the weight of that.
Yeah.
Because the sooner you can do that, the sooner they can express that, the sooner they can process that, the sooner you can start to pull them into, work with them into a place where they're going, Is there anything else other than just being angry? And yeah, sure, there's heaps. There's a whole world of stuff other than just being angry.
Yeah.
But yeah, you've got to be a Rottweiler for a while. Got to growl at some stuff.
Hell yeah.
So there we go, guys. Have we summed it up? Have we
I think
circled
so.
the wagon enough on that one?
Sure, for sure. Be the Rottweiler.
If you need to be. So that's the deconstruct. The three phases of the deconstruct, which involve a delegitimization, a finding your voice again, finding yourself again. But you're going to go through despair. If you're still trying to make it work, you're not there yet. Drink up. Despair, disdain. And then ultimately disinterest, where we all get to be basset hounds and just flop around with a relative disinterest in all the nonsense that surrounds us.
Yeah.
All right, buddy.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Oh, also, before we go, let us know what you think of this episode. Reach out. Let us know your thoughts, comments. We always love hearing from you. And
unless you're nasty.
You're nasty.
Then we don't care.
Yeah.
Scroll. Keep scrolling.
Disinterest, yeah.
keep scrolling.
We'll see you in the next episode.
Okay, bye.
Thank you for listening to Heart Riffing. If today's conversation resonated, you can find more of our work, including courses, mentoring, and workshops, at www.wayoftheheart.com.au or on our Instagram, Way of the Heart Official. We'd love to hear your thoughts, reflections, or questions, so please always feel free to message or comment. We look forward to seeing you next time.